Hi, and thanks for joining me, and thanks to Kathleen Whalen of Whalen Financial Group at 128 Buckland in LaSalle for sponsoring Tom's Take. A rare swing and a miss for Peru. For whatever reason, aldermen have come forward with a truly bizarre design for this local water tower. Here's the design they've come up with. Area 251. It's, of course, a real stretch of a play on the infamous Area 51 in Nevada. Nevada, complete with UFO theme. They say it's supposed to look like a flying saucer when the lights hit it just right. Okay. A few questions. First of all, what connection does this have with Peru or the region or anything at all for that matter? Okay, please don't tell us you hung a whole concept on the route number of a highway through town that happens to be near the water tower, Route 251. And if that's the hook, then please provide the paperwork from the appropriate authorities stating that Route 251 will never be renumbered to another route number. Remember, like when it went from Route 51 to Route 251. Please guarantee us this is never going to happen. All right, second question. How much did you pay for the design and the concept of Area 251? If it's anything more than a penny, you overpaid, and that firm needs to either refund the public's money or come up with a completely different concept for no further charge. Please, respectfully, tell us the name of the firm that you used to come up with this. And please, don't tell us you did this without a professional firm. Is it necessary to paint this water tower at all? If no, just stop now and focus on meaningful things. If yes, how much is this paint job going to cost the taxpayers of Peru? And how much less would a perfectly serviceable repaint job of this tower cost? If there's a difference, how can you justify the difference? And given the fact that it makes very good sense to tie your city to Starved Rock country as other towns are doing, working together on one tourism concept, a rising tide lifts all boats, why are you creating something that makes absolutely no sense? Also, to follow up on that question, how many aliens has anyone ever seen in Peru? Anyone? Aside from illegal aliens. Anyone? No? No? The mayor had his own design. I'm not endorsing that either, since it really doesn't do anything except show what some are calling Trump's profile in a flag pattern. I'm okay, I didn't see that. But, you know, do you even want the expense of painting something, even if you're a Trump fan, if it looks like Trump, when money is tight right now? It's not too late to stop this thing, or at very least just reassess it. And as they say in radio, or at least on the phone, on the radio, I'll hang up and wait for my answer. Not quite done with Tom's Take just yet. I toyed with this idea this week, and I decided, since it only ran for about 3.5 minutes, the other portion of Tom's Take this morning, that I would do another one too and just tack it on to the end here. And it's current, it's timely. Lee Elia, who had been a player for the White Sox and the Cubs and a manager for the Cubs, and he's involved in the Phillies organization as well, died this past week. And in 1983, in April, he did what unfortunately he's sort of come to be remembered for, which is a 3 or 4 minute rant, like a 4-minute rant, defending his players against fans at Wrigley Field and their treatment of his players. It was 1983, it was early in their season. The day he did this, they were 5-14. They had just lost their 14th game of the season. And in those days, I don't know if you remember this, Cubs fans, but the clubhouse used to be out off left field, and they would come in that way and walk back out that way after the game. And they were catching verbal abuse from fewer than 10,000 fans who were there that day. And this is when Wrigley Field was only for day games. They had no lights yet. This is 1983. And so often a lot of the ones who could come out were people who didn't work, or who for whatever reason, they were unemployed or something else, or couldn't work. And so when he saw the fans tearing up his players like that, he went into his office and launched into an epic rant that happened to be captured by Les Grobstein of WLS at the time. He was running his tape recorder. He happened to be in the manager's office that day after he was covering the game that day. And then he rushed back to the radio station and put it on the air on WLS, and this is where I remember it, because that happened to be Friday, if memory serves. The reason I know that, or believe it was, is because we were on our way in a car filled with 13, 14-year-old kids, and I was one of them. I was in 8th grade. And we were going on our confirmation retreat for a weekend. And our minister was Reverend Gary Curl, friend of ours, and it's Methodist Church, and it's the Grace United Methodist Church on Charter Street in LaSalle. It's 1983, and we were in his car. A bunch of us are crammed into his car, and we're listening to WLS because that's what we listened to when we were 13. And sure enough, the rant came on as we're in the car with our minister. He's listening to this rant the whole time. Now, it had been bleeped and cleaned up, believe me. Still, though, he was just so shocked, as were we. He was so shocked about this rant that it was just something that we talked about all weekend, and we didn't. I've never forgotten it. So Lee Elia died. We've got the All-Star game coming up this week, so I'm going to play the cleaned up version of the Lee Elia rant for you right now.
We're mired now and in a little difficulty. We got all these so-called fans that come out here and say they're Cub fans that are supposed to be behind you, ripping every thing you do. I'll tell you one thing. I hope we get hotter than just to stuff it up them 3,000 people that show up every day. Because if they're the real Chicago fans, they can kiss my ass right downtown and print it. My What am I supposed to do? Go out there and let my players get destroyed every day and be quiet about it for the nickel-dime people that show up? The don't even work. That's why they're out of the game. They want to go out and get a job and find out what it's like to go out there and a living. 85% of the world's working. The other 15 come out here. The playground for the rip them country like the players. Got guys busting their ass, and them people do. And that's the Cubs? The great support that the players get around here. I haven't seen it this year. Don't ask me about any specific play. I won't answer it. I'm not going to talk about specific plays. The name of the game is hit the ball, catch the ball, and get the job done. Every time we lose a close game, it's magnified. Why did this guy bunt it and that guy pop up or this guy throw a wild pitch? That's baseball, fellas. That's going to happen. That's how runs are scored. That's how the balance goes cockeyed. That's the difference between victory and defeat. Right now, we have more losses than we have wins. Everybody associated with this organization have been winners their whole life. Everybody. And the credit is not given in that respect. The changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold. All right, they don't show because we're 5-14. And unfortunately, that's the criteria of them dumb 15% that come out to date baseball. The other 85% are earning a living. I'll tell you, it'll take more than a 5-13 or 5-14 to destroy the makeup of this club. I guarantee you that. There's some pros out there that want to play this game. But you're in a stigma of the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Cardinals and all that cheap all these mother editorials about Say and the Phillyitis and all that it's sickening. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's a disheartening situation we're in right now. Anybody that was associated with the Cup organization 4 or 5 years ago that came back and sees the multitude of progress that's been made will understand that if they're baseball people and 5-14 doesn't negate all that work. Got 143 games left. What I'm trying to say is don't rip them guys out there. Rip me. If you want to rip somebody, rip my ass. But don't rip them guys because they're giving everything they can give. And right now they're trying to do more than God gave them, and that's why we make the simple mistakes. That's exactly why. But once we hit that groove, it'll flow. And it will flow. The talent's there. don't know how to make it any clearer to you. I'm frustrated. I'll guarantee I'm frustrated. It'd be different if I walked in this room every day at 8:30 and saw a bunch of guys that didn't give a They give a
Now, Lee Elia passed away this past week, and he was not fired for that rant. As a matter of fact, he stuck around as manager for part of the rest of that season, and then was canned for other reasons by Dallas Green. Himself, spent a lot of time in the Phillies organization, but yeah, Lee Elia was right. They had some talent there, and the very next year, the Cubs did win the National League East, back before there was a Central Division. And they ended up taking on the San Diego Padres, the winner of the National League West, and didn't win. They didn't win that time. So he was sort of right. He was just very passionate about what he believed in. Thanks to Kathleen Whalen of Whalen Financial in LaSalle at 128 Buckland Street for always supporting this weekend reset. And I'll talk to you in the morning, hopefully without the need for any bleeping